Hi, welcome to the channel. This is MadDogHux's here. Today we are doing the top scorers of all time list. Now this is basically the best hoopers list, plus many more just top scorers of all time. Not necessarily your finesse bucket getters, the guys that exemplified a lot of skill. These guys are just going to be straight up scorers. One of the main differences between that list and this list is we're going to focus less on finesse and just getting buckets, period. Now that said, I was going to make this an ethical bucket getters list and kind of deduct people for being foul baiters and using kind of tactics that have been frowned upon over time or just in general. However, that seemed like too much to police. I don't really like that stuff. I think that foul baiting, as much as it sucks, it's a part of the game. And some of your best scorers of all time, including Michael Jordan, were foul baiters, technically. They could use it when they needed to, and they knew how to manipulate the game. Guys like Kevin Durant also do it. Now, that said, there was some controversy with my last list in the Hoopers list. The idea of being a hooper, again, finesse and skill was the name of the game. People who maybe used brute force to get their buckets and things like that were deducted a little bit on the list. So guys like LeBron didn't end up being S tier. Guys like Chris Paul, who definitely use a lot more finesse and exemplify a lot more skill in getting their buckets, because it wasn't just how they got the bucket, it was how they got to their buckets, right? Shot creation, using dribble skills, stuff like that, crossovers, whatever they could do to break ankles, all that went into it. That's why guys like ISO Joe and things like that probably were higher revered on that list than they will be on this list. That said, let's get straight to it. LeBron James is automatically going to be an S tier. That said, there's a couple other guys that got to go in here automatically. These are easy pickings just to get them on there and make sure that we're kind of setting the bar. That said, Chris Paul, how do I say this? He's not going to be very high on this list. He hasn't always been a score first point guard, which you're going to see some score first point guards on here are going to be rated a lot higher than him. And let me find Chris Paul so I can appropriately put him on the list. We're going to put him in F tier. Just because, actually I'll put him in D tier, because he can get a bucket kind of whenever he needs to or wants to, but he's not like score first. He's definitely below average in scoring. And that's what we're going to say. C is like, they're a bucket getter, but maybe they're on the more on the average side. That said, let's get some of the easy ones out of the way. Let's find Michael Jordan real quick. I think he's just going to be under J for Jordan, so he'll be in a weird spot. That's H for Hill, right? Some of them are by last name and some are by first and last name. So you'll have like Jordan here. Got to find Kobe as well. Kareem. I think that's our Mount Rushmore right now, and we work from that. So hopefully justice has been done. I'm looking at you, Gut. That said, I already talked about Joel Embiid. He's not as smooth as you might think. He's a little herky-jerky, but I think that's part of what helps get him those fouls. And like I said, he can get buckets when he needs to. I think the biggest thing holding him back in his career is part of his play style does involve a certain physicality. But unlike a guy like Shaq, who had a lot of physicality, Joel Embiid ends up on the ground a lot through what seems like sometimes minimal contact, and he ends up getting hurt a lot. People fall on his legs or something, or he gets tripped up, or he trips up over people. And I'm just going to say this. Going to the ground generally leads to more injuries. I think that's what's going to hold him back all time on his careers list. I'm going to throw him up at least at a B for now. That said, I'm going to put Shaq at least at an A. And the only reason Shaq's probably not S tier here is just because his peak wasn't as long as people think, and he didn't get the total points, I think, that people think. I may move him up depending on who ends up in the A tier. He's going to be like a border guy for AS. But I'm comparing those two because they're both big dominant forces in the NBA, and I feel like kind of getting them in the right spot. Joel Embiid might move up to an A as well. It just depends on how I go through this list and feel where people fall. Luka Doncic, kind of wish I could see their names here. Weird seeing him still in the Mavs jersey. I'm going to put him in an A tier, actually above Shaq if I can, if it'll let me, because I think he has more variety of ways to score. I don't think he's as dominant as Shaq by any means. Let's get some other easy ones out of the way. Kevin Durant, I think, is going to be automatic A tier as well. So a lot of the same reasons as Luka. I think he's a little smoother than Luka, but I think Luka is going to be a better bucket getter in his totality of his career, especially if he avoids injuries. So, we might switch this at some point in the future. But because Durant is further along in his career, and he is, I think maybe tonight or the next few games might hit that 30,000 mark, which is a very exclusive club to have over 30,000 points in the NBA. I'm going to put him above Luka for now. I reserve the right to change that in the future. Another guy that's an absolute bucket getter in today's NBA is Trae Young. I'm going to put him below Shaq, but he's an absolute bucket getter. I think he has a great variety of ways to score. He's pretty smooth with it. And because he hasn't missed a ton of time to injuries, even though he has missed some time to some injuries, I think he might end up really high on the list. Matter of fact, though, so I put him at the B tier with Embiid. 12,467. Trae Young. 11,549. In how many years? 7 years and 9. Joel Embiid's had 2 more years to basically get 1,000 more points. Yeah, I'll keep Trae above him for now. Just for now. As a matter of fact, I will move him down to B tier, but above Embiid. You know what? Let's get to it. AI is another legend. He carried the 76ers against Kobe and Shaq to the finals. I think he has a great variety of ways to score. He did have a little bit of a 3-ball, but it wasn't really consistent throughout his career. I'll just keep him there, kind of, I'd say right at Shaq's level. So we'll put him below just because I don't think he was as dominant a scorer. Although on the Hoopers list, I would definitely rate him above Shaq because, again, the skill it took for him, especially you got to figure how immense his skill was for such a small guy like that in the NBA to score like he did. Absolute bucket getter. Matter of fact, a lot of these guys from the 80s that were like this, I could probably throw in this B tier, like World Be Free. I'm sorry, I confused Alex English and Adrian Dantley. Didn't I see Adrian Dantley? Yeah, there he is. Let's put him in here. Oh, there he is, Mark Aguirre. Wow, they are all really close ranked. And World Be Free per 36 is 35. Dantley was 28. Like that, maybe like that. Absolute bucket getters in the 80s. Whenever I do rebuilds in NBA 2K, I actually target these guys as my potential like scorers for my team in that era because they are bucket getters. I prefer to try to start the long ball era early. Who else could be there? Artis Gilmore, I would say was an above average score. I could throw him in there. Ooh, Larry Bird I see here. I mean, obviously Bird, like, credit where credit's due. I'm going to put him above Durant, even though I think Durant is technically the better scorer. Oh, okay, fine. That said. But he paved the way for all these guys. You know what I mean? I want to pay him respect for being like the original big body, like power. Now it would be a modern day power forward, stretch forward kind of archetype. Absolute bucket getter. Don't want to disrespect Bird. He's a legend, you know? Bob Cousy, kind of a pass first point guard. Not really much of a bucket getter. I'm going to put him there. Ooh, Oscar Robertson. Not many know this, but the triple-double king was a bucket getter in his day. Even more than Trae, actually. I'm going to put him above Trae. Trae Young, 40-point games. He has 34. And I bet you if I look up Oscar Robertson, I almost called him Big O. He has 77. I know Trae Young's still young in his career. I'm going to give the nod right now to Oscar Robertson. Just because historically that's where he is. Ooh, Bob McAdoo. I see you there, old McAdoo. Bob McAdoo, I think, also can fit in here. Do I put him above Gilmore? Yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to put Gilmore at C tier. He was a bucket getter, but I think he's your average bucket getter. I don't think he's like... And you know what? McAdoo might fall too, honestly, but I think he kind of fits here for now until like it kind of flushes out. The C tier should end up being the biggest, and the B tier is kind of filling out, so maybe some people get moved around. But I have a feeling as we go through some of the less obvious and all-time guys that I can relate to, as far as where they are in the all-time scoring list, where their per 36 career numbers are, people will get moved around, you know. Dan Issel should also at least be at the top of this, if not at the bottom of B. I think David Thompson's got to be like here. You know what? And then Walter Davis was also in his day a good bucket getter, and I put him above all these guys. Saw him there. Ooh, Dominique Wilkins. He's going to be A tier. I'm not quite sure where. I'm thinking like there, honestly. The original human highlight reel, you know? Absolute legend. I saw my guy on here from the Phoenix Suns, Kevin Johnson. I think I'm going to throw him in there as like the bottom of C tier for now, just to kind of have him in there. And then I think Charles Barkley can probably slot in right about there. I'm just trying to get some guys I know that I love that are in there. And now in my heart, Charles Barkley is like here, you know? But we got to be honest, like his whole career, he never really had the 3-point shot. He used his body well. He was a phenomenal post scorer, had a good mid-range jumper. Was great in the fast break, but he's got to be there. And then I see Alvin Adams here as like, I think he was on here just because I was starting a list of players and they happen to be Suns players for all-time scorers. I'm going to put him at like the top of the D tier. Not that he was bad. Actually, you know what I'll do? Maybe he goes in C tier as well. Ooh, big dog. Glenn Robinson. I think he should be here, and I'm thinking he should go like here. Oh, and you know who I see? Right here? Bob Pettit. He's got to at least be here, right? Actually, I'm going to move it like that. I feel like that's a better list right there. I don't want to be disrespectful and start like, oh, you're like an F or D tier, blah, blah, blah. Just because like some of these guys, yeah, I know they weren't super bucket getters. Like, honestly, like, yeah, we could throw Jason Williams in here. He's a hooper for sure. He has a lot of skill, necessarily like a clutch gene, like you might say like a Steph Curry. Should be... Where will he end up all time is the question. Because when you think about it, his career didn't like skyrocket at the beginning, but the end of his career is so amazing. That's so tough. I want to move him way up. Oh, Steph Curry's so good, though. It's hard to deny. He's like obviously one of the best scorers ever. Like his long ball. Okay, how about this? How about we ignore injuries and the total numbers a little bit, and we just look at their peaks? I think that would move him up a bit, right? People probably could say he's interchangeable here. I think Durant has the better mid-range game and rim scoring, even though Durant, as he's aged, doesn't score at the rim as much as he used to, right? I don't know. Maybe I change that. I'll just leave it like that for now. Clyde the Glide. I think he's got to lead the C tier, right? And I would like, if you could have like normalized the stats based on usage rate and minutes played, maybe this would be easier to determine like who's the best scorers. But some would say, you know, you got to have that dog in you. You got to have the confidence. You got to be a little bit selfish to be a top scorer and take those shots and get those buckets. You can't shy away from the moment and be afraid. So, you know, maybe Clyde ends up there all the time. John Stockton doesn't make the list, and he's in here. And I think if he wanted to, he could have been a bucket getter. So I think he's right here with Chris Paul. You know, Anthony Davis is an absolute bucket getter and a dominant force, not just on offense. And he's in here. I'm thinking we throw him maybe at the bottom of A tier for now. Ooh, Stephon Marbury, a score first point guard. I want to say he's going to be like right about here. Do we think he's better than Kevin Johnson? Probably not, actually. I'm actually looking here. It's per 36. He's not even on the list. I bet you if I look at his total numbers, they're not going to be great either. He kind of ended up having a shorter peak because I don't know why. He just didn't go along with coaches and organizations. He got traded around and they ended up playing in China a lot. But I love Starbury. And hey, and as someone who grew up with a single mom who could barely afford basketball shoes to put on our feet, I appreciate a guy like Starbury making affordable shoes for kids to wear. Gotta love Stephon Marbury for that. And Nick Van Exel's on here. I don't think we can really put Exel is like a top guy, but we could throw him there in the D tier for now. I see Zeke on here. I think he's better than KJ at that. And I want to say maybe about there. Yeah. Actually, you know what? Like that. I think that feels better. I just don't know where to make the cutoff between these two. So right now he's here. I mean, and being below Bob McAdoo, who's a legend, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Who else we got here? Oh, John Drew. Now, those that don't know, John Drew was a bucket. He did get to the 15,000 point club, which I tried to get all like the legends that had at least 15,000 points in here, but his per 36 numbers are really good. Yeah, where does he rank? He's 13th all time per 36 for career. I mean, he only played like 10 years. That's the issue. That said, he was a bucket. I'll put him here at the end of A tier. He can represent the end of A tier for now. Wilt's in here. Gotta look for him. Where's Wilt? Oh, he's at the end of the list. Wilt's going to be below Kareem at the end of S tier. He can't get 100 points. I know his usage percentage in that game was insane. But you can't get 100 points in a game without being an absolute scorer. And he's come on, he's a legend. West, again, where do I put him? Probably here. Right below Anthony Davis. Although, West carried his team in the finals and stuff, like AI, so I'll give him the slight nudge there. Like, what he did for the Lakers and his teams was just absolutely phenomenal in his day. And if I'm looking at these bucket getters, and I'm comparing them to those, where'd he go? Reggie Miller? I mean, the per 36 is telling me he should be at the end of B tier. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, it's Bob McAdoo. I keep seeing Bob McAdoo there, and I'm like, I can't hate. Payton, Gary Payton. I see him here. More of a defensive-minded guy. I'm thinking maybe he could be the end of C tier for now. Oh, there's Pistol Pete. Now, Pete Maravich. God, they talk about buckets. He was like a legend in his day. And there's Kiki, there's Rick Barry. Who else have it? Oh, there's Mullen. Let's get him in there at some point. All right, let's get Pete. I'm thinking Pete. This doesn't sound weird. I kind of want to put him above Reggie, but I'm going to put him below. And I'm actually going to put Kiki right below him. Rick Barry. I think is going to slot into maybe like about here. God, man, this is getting tough. Gut, look, if you disagree with anybody on this list, I'm sorry, man. I'm trying my best. I'm trying to take into like stuff and be fair. Because like, you look at some of these guys and like, if you take into account like that they got injured and whatever, and like Drazen Petrovic, he was like a legend, you know, in his day. He was totally a sharpshooter. But I'm going to say like at the very minimum, he's got to be here, right? Absolute bucket getter and scorer. He died tragically young in a car accident with his girlfriend. Like, you can't hold that against him. Now, Earl the Pearl. I'm thinking... about there, maybe? No disrespect. I mean, he's Charles Barkley, former MVP here as well. I see Elgin on here. I think I'm going to slot you in here. I'm trying to take into totality. And the reason is I'm looking at the per 36 for a career, and he fits in right between these two guys. That feels right. That feels right. I see Dr. J on here only because, yeah, I think he's going to go in there. So I see John Havlicek, or I saw him. Where was he? Where was it? Here he is. Oh, there's Glenn Robinson. He should be above Glenn Robinson. Okay, I can do that. I feel confident in that. It's funny I put no one in F yet because I don't want to be disrespectful. And these really are like the best of the best all time. Yeah, you know what? I might just move like him down just because to have someone there. But like, no disrespect to Jason Williams. I love the dude. He's one of my favorite ballers of all time. He just isn't known as like a scorer. So I'm throwing him in there. That said, I see Jose Calderon here. He was kind of a bucket getter in his thing. But again, being a foreign-born player, didn't get a lot of time at the... to play like that long. Maybe his peak was pretty good. I mean, he was definitely a bucket getter. I don't know. I'll put him in D tier, I guess, for now, without trying to be too disrespectful about it. Chris Mullin. Where does Mullin rank all time? Again, this guy, his career injuries and drinking and stuff kind of held him back, but bucket getter for sure. If you all don't know, Run TMC. Was he the C? I think he might have been the C, now that I say that out loud. Anyway, yeah, he's definitely in there, part of Run TMC. Phenomenal Nelly Ball team that, you know, in the early 90s. Dude, who doesn't love Nelly Ball? Nelly Ball led to small ball in 7 seconds and perimeter-centric scoring that we now see nowadays. Like, The Heat kind of implemented that kind of stuff. We know when LeBron finally started winning with Bosh at the 5, you can't speak to the historical impact that Don Nelson had on the NBA. I mean, even with him in the We Believe Warriors, he just touched so many teams and so many players and helped guys make careers. Coach's coach, smart X's and O's guy, or a player's coach, I meant to say. I would say a coach's coach too. I think coaches respect him. And just, all around great. And Chris Mullin was got to be a part of that, which is just awesome. Elvin Hayes end up. Oh my God, he's right below Dale Ellis per 36 all time. They're actually tied. That's crazy. Above Michael Beasley. Beasley's on this list. That's good to know. Maybe I could slot them in at the same time. Okay, so that I could slot him in maybe about here. Oh, Gervin is on here? Yeah, let's get Gervin out of the way. I just saw him as well. George Gervin, I mean, impact alone, I'm thinking he should be maybe about there. Per 36, he's just behind Michael Jordan, ahead of Kevin Durant, Trae Young, a lot of these other guys for a career. So let's give the dude his flowers. Okay, where does Moses fit? And you know what, Charles? I'm going to put Moses right next to you. He was your hero. You guys could hang out together on that C tier together. You're kind of splitting hairs at that point, where they end up. Charles really looked up to Moses, and he'd probably be honored to be right next to him. All right, Amari Stoudemire. Now, that's a guy who, end of his career, really drug him down, but at his peak, he was so nice. Maybe like there. Patrick Ewing, I think should go slight above. Hey, look at that. We finally got the C tier to be the biggest tier. Hakeem, the Dream, should be here as well. David Robinson, I see, is here. It's kind of a big list at this point. Barely above Charles. Okay. Where's Issel at? Ooh, Issel's up higher. Hold on. Am I hating on Issel? Ooh, I might be. Him and Bob McAdoo should probably be a little bit higher. Where's Bob McAdoo at? You're right there? All right, you're getting bumped up a little bit, buddy. Oh, yeah, for sure. God, you should probably be leading the C tier, actually. That's crazy to say. If you don't know Dan Issel, look his game up. Before you start hating, look his game up. I didn't realize I had started to move him down so low. Absolute bucket getter in his day. Started in the ABA, I believe, playing for the Kentucky Colonels or something. He went to Kentucky famously. If you ever look up photos of him, you might see him missing his front teeth. Speaking of part of Run TMC, Tim Hardaway. He doesn't make the all-time efficiency list? No way. Or per 36 anyway, sorry. Specifically per 36. As a matter of fact, let's look up Gary Payton PPG career. 16.3, and then let's look at Tim Hardaway. Ooh, I might need to move them down to D tier at that point. Oh yeah, he scored more, so Gary Payton can go lower. Hold on. I'll base it on Chris Paul. Career points per game, 17.2. You're above Gary? Oh, shit. Okay, I'm sorry. And I'm going to look up John Stockton, too, while I'm at it. Ooh, I might need to move him down. He could score, don't get me wrong. He was a good scorer. He's just not like that. Let's see. Let's get Tim Duncan out of the way. Now, Tim Duncan, he wasn't flashy. He was called the big fundamental, but my God, could he get buckets. And I'm thinking he should be right below Glenn Robinson. Below Glenn Robinson all time. But here's the thing. I think he should go above. Because he was never the go-to guy, but he could always get you a bucket. And, like, are we going to split hairs if he's here or here? I think most people would agree that Tim Duncan's the better player. And the way he would talk trash, if you ever want to know, go look up a video of Kevin Garnett talking about how Tim Duncan used to just fuck with him, saying, like, hey, nice shot. Ooh, gotcha. Like, his trash talk was nice, like, polite and nice, and it just that fucked with Kevin Garnett apparently, and I think it's just hilarious stories, you know. I'm gonna look up Magic Johnson real quick. I see him on the list. I just realized he's an older player. I haven't gotten off the list yet. I'm just gonna look up what his career points per game was. Nice. You can definitely lead out the pack. I'm gonna figure out where he is in relation to Stephon Marbury. Right below. Okay, that is perfect to know. Literally 0.1 points per game below. There you go. That's where he slots in. I guess I can get Tony Parker out of the way. And then who was I just looking up? Tony Parker. Probably was it there? Oh no. Oh no. Maybe there. He was definitely a point guard that could score. And he had great games, but you know, we'll move him down a little bit. I see Tracy McGrady there. Now Tracy McGrady was an absolute bucket in his day. Yeah, you know what? He's one of the ones I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt for like the end of his career being, you know, after the injuries and all that. I'm thinking because a lot of these guys ended their career like around 10-ish years, except for Miller. Let's put him about there. That feels about right. Because he could easily be up here in A tier. But I feel like everybody in A tier earned it in efficiency and in not having a lot of bad years. And I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt and not put him in the C tier. Moving him up 2 tiers feels a little disingenuous to the list right now. Like I haven't done that for anyone else. So 1 tier up feels good. I see Tayshaun Prince here. I don't know if he makes the list per 36 all time. And I'm using per 36 for career because I feel like it's a good guiding light. Like, at least for the guys that didn't get injured, right, and had good years. Some of the guys, you know, they probably played past their prime and those numbers drug him down. Tayshaun Prince is another one of those. That said, his career points per game has never been phenomenal. He's probably like there. Sorry, Detroit fans. If you know, you know. Like, I know it was a slow ball era in basketball, but it is what it is. Ooh, Ginobili's here. Let's get him out of the way. Unfortunately, suffers from being a 6th man most of his career. But I actually, you know what's funny? I think he should slot in right about there. Grant Hill, another guy that got injured. But what's crazy about Grant Hill, he found other ways to score and stayed efficient throughout his career. Ended up having a long career. But at his peak was a 25-point game scorer, which could easily have him in the B tier. That feels pretty good. Where's he at? Let me grab him. Grant Hill, I'm going to pop you in maybe about there for now. Actually, I'm going to move him right at there. I take it back. Grant Hill. Sorry, Grant. Got demoted a little bit. Allen Houston, where was he at? I saw him a second ago. There he is. I think you're going to go right below Marbury. Oh, no. He averaged a couple more points per game than you. Okay, you'll go there then, below Magic. Even though I think you were more score first than Magic, Magic averaged more points. Again, he benefits from probably a shorter career as well, right? Where'd Steve Nash go? I saw him a second ago. Here he is. So I'm thinking you can slot in about there. Let me just compare to Nick Van Exel real quick. Right there. I'm just looking at Kevin Johnson's numbers. As much as I love him, he's got to go there. Where'd Mashburn just go? I just was looking at him. That's Stackhouse. Where's Mashburn? I just went over him too, and there he is. 19.1. I guess you can slot in about there. Yeah, okay, C tier is definitely the biggest so far, so that's pretty awesome. And it should be. Ooh, I see Paul Pierce. I think he's on the all-time list. Hold on, for per 36. Oh, he's right above Kevin Martin and Lou Williams, so I can get all 3 of these knocked out at the same time here, probably. They're above Glenn Robinson, above John Havlicek. Where's Pierce? You're going to go right there. And then it's going to be Lou Williams. Where's Lou Will? Who was a bucket. And it's going to be Kevin Martin, who was also a bucket. I feel good about that. Double check something on Alvin Adams real quick. What was his career? I remember it being lower than I thought. I didn't realize maybe he got his points from just like longevity potentially. Oh yeah, you're like, I guess like here-ish. All right, Donovan Mitchell is probably gonna end up above John Drew, above Anthony Davis, above Jerry West. That feels about right. Again, considering the slow ball era, like I said, if we could take into account like inflation of shots and pace and all that stuff, I'm sure he would end up somewhere around here-ish. Devin Booker's my guy. I think him and a few other guys are kind of interchangeable at this spot, so I'm just going to put him in here as well. Shea's another one. I'll put Shea. I like Shea at the top of this group, maybe. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. You're splitting hairs. Yeah, Giannis, by the way. Again, power and force don't matter on this list. It's more about just it's not about finesse. It's not about all that stuff we were talking about previous. No. It's just about being a scorer. I'm thinking Giannis can maybe slot in right about there. Anthony Edwards weirdly doesn't make this list. I don't know why he doesn't make this list per 36. I couldn't tell you. But Julius Randle does. And I can probably knock him. Ooh, Blake Griffin is also listed here. Him and Klay Thompson out at the same time because they're close to each other. They're right next to Mitch Richmond. Was Mitch Richmond on this list? I used to love Mitch Richmond's game back in the day. Gil is here. Okay, cool. I could throw him up there. Who should it be above? Paul Pierce. That feels about right. Which means Julius Randle. Below Charles. Below T-Mac. Where's T-Mac? I moved him up. Where's Pearl at? Earl the Pearl? Oh, DeMarcus Cousins has to be on this list, right? Ooh! Damn, all-time career-wise, he's almost as efficient as Wilt. And he's right above Pete Maravich, which makes this really easy to do. Where you at, Boogie? I saw you. Where now? Let me find Pistol Pete. We're moving you to B tier. And I think at the peak of his powers, Tracy McGrady, you could say, was definitely better than Boogie. Matter of fact, I would say he's definitely better than Reggie, but we're going to keep Reggie there. The long ball, everything else, blah, blah, blah. Now, earlier I'd made a comment on Jason Tatum being more efficient than Jaylen Brown per 36 and all that. Jason Tatum, if I could spot him, is currently ranked about here on the B tier list. And where is Jaylen Brown? Perfect. He slots in right behind Zeke. That makes it easy, which is the C tier list. Let's figure out where Vince Carter fits all time. Now, he's going to be way down the list because he had a lot of bad years at the end of his career. He's below T-Mac. I want to put him below Boogie, but above Pistol Pete. Everybody thought, even I thought, he was the next coming of Michael Jordan. He was just so damn athletic, you know? Where's Stackhouse all time on this list? I would never say this as personally as how I feel about him, but I'm going to put Stackhouse above Vince Carter. I personally prefer Vince Carter and his game a little bit more, but hey, the numbers are the numbers. When Amari came to the Suns, he immediately kind of became the number 2 guy, even though that was still like 20 points per game. And then when he left the Suns and went to other teams, I feel like he became even the 3rd option or 4th option, and then he did stay like kind of towards the end of his career, maybe a little long in the tooth when he was like in Cleveland. Above Marbury. I think that's where he's going to go, right above Marbury. That feels about right. Sharif Abdur-Rahim, bucket getter himself. 23 points per game at his peak. Now, he didn't play super long. He retired at 31, but his last couple years, he didn't play a whole lot. His last season, he didn't play like at all. I think I'm going to slot him in right behind Mashburn here and ahead of Kevin Johnson. Let me just double check. Yeah, that feels right. We got Jamal Crawford. Is Crawford on this list? No, which is interesting because You would think for like the limited minutes he played and all the buckets he got, he'd be really high in this list. At almost 20,000. Holy hell. He got some buckets. 20 points at his peak per game for a few seasons right around that mark. Because of that, I think he's got to slot in right above Sean Marion. I prefer Sean Marion as a player over him, but I love Jamal Mashburn too. I don't want to hate on him too much. Kids into the point guard, I should have got him out of the way early because he's a pass first kind of guy. He did get to over 17,000. His points per game, 18.7 at the highest. Nice. Can't hate on that. Which means he's going to slot in about here? That feels about right. Oh, we got Russell Westbrook here. I love Russell. I'm so glad he's on a team that can appreciate his talents and maximize him. And, like, he's just playing so well with Jokic, you know? I'm thinking he's going to be the end of B tier as, like, our cutoff. Because on this list, he should be a few slots behind Kiki. Kiki should be right ahead of Melo. Now, I prefer Melo's game, so I'm going to put him above Kiki. Is Melo on here? Where's Carmelo Anthony? There he is. But per 36, Kiki was better. And what I was going to say is this is where I can knock out a few people at once. So I just put Russell Westbrook here. Now, above him goes Dwayne Wade. But below Kiki, yes. Although, again, injuries, career, stuff like that, I'm going to move him up a few spots. I'm just saying in my head, was he better than him? Was he better than him? Right about there. I'm just because of the injury stuff. I'm gonna give him a benefit of the doubt there. De'Aaron Fox, who has not had the injuries yet, I think he could slot in right there. Karl Anthony Towns. Ooh, he's right below Davis and Dantley. Do I have Davis in here already? And oh, they're right there. Yeah, so let's throw Karl Anthony Towns in. Boom, now the B tier's kind of big too. I'm actually like pleased with how the list is coming together so far. Anthony Edwards, why are you not on the all-time efficiency list? That's so weird to me. You haven't had a long career. Per 36, you should be good. This year's his best year. 27.5 points per game. Can I see? Yeah, per 36 minutes. Oh, okay, maybe that's why. But still not bad, 24.4. That would put him right above Walter Davis. I'm good with that. That feels good. Who have I not gotten around to? Anthony Davis is on the list, yeah? Right below him should be Lillard. I'm good with that. Lillard feels right about in that area, right? But Dame right here. Actually, right below John Drew. 16.1. Okay. I think that's going to slot him in right about there. Michael Beasley was a bucket. Now, he never got handed the keys to a franchise, so we got to take that into account a little bit, kind of like Manu Ginobili. Absolute bucket getter. Hopefully some Michael Beasley fans out there happy about that. I know DeMar's on this list. Where does he fit? Okay. Ooh, he's near Paul George. Is Paul George on here too? He should be. I see Kawhi. Did I not put PG in here? Oh yeah, he's right there. Okay. And they're both below Dirk, above Paul Westphal. Yo, not having Paul Westphal in here is now starting to feel disrespectful. Let's write this wrong. That makes this list a little longer, but it's going to make it more complete. So hopefully people that maybe are fans of some of these players, will not feel so left out, or like that their guys or their team got overlooked. I just realized something. Issel's got to move up. And then, well, maybe like there. Actually, no, for real, like actually like right there. Actually is going to be, top of C tier is going to be Kristaps. And then where's Zach LaVine at? I guess we'll slot in right there. Is Kawhi here? Kawhi's here. I think follows right after. Yeah, man, injuries. Talk about injuries holding people back. Just anyway, there's not a lot I want to say on that. It's just it sucks. And then Bradley Beal, interestingly, would slot in right here. Now, I think I'm going to bring, because he can be anywhere between there and Zeke, right? He was kind of the go-to guy for a minute. I think I'm going to pop him in right there. Jalen Brunson. Okay. So he's definitely above Clyde. So yeah, right there. Perfect. And I think Paul Westphal, boom, pops right there. That's why I was like, it felt weird leaving him out at a certain point, because Paul Westphal was nice in his day, you know? He got his finals appearance as one of the top scorers on the Suns. Went up against the Celtics in 76-77 finals. And then right above Paul Westphal, I think I'm going to put DeMar DeRozan. Boom. Let's put Paul George there. And let's put Dirk. I'm thinking right about here. He did lead his team to a championship. Although, maybe I'm just dragging him down because of those years. How many years did he have where he wasn't, like, at the peak of his powers? I can, like, use that to justify bumping him up a bit. Really just, like, the last 2 years. And I guess the first year of his career. So we take 3 years away out of 21. Jesus. Solid 18-year career. How many total points? 31,000? Okay, I take that back. Yeah, you led your team to a championship, and so did Akeem. I feel like this feels better. I don't think Brandon Roy is on the all-time per 36 list. He's not. He was a bucket getter. Very short peak of his career, and he should be... I'll slot him in right above David Robinson. He's like one of the biggest what-ifs of all time, right? Ray Allen, I mean, I don't know if Allen makes this list. I mean, I love Ray Allen's game. Young Ray Allen, some of y'all don't know. Oh, should be just below Reggie Miller, basically? That feels pretty good. I'm going to put him below T-Mac, below Wade. Somewhere in this range. Just per 36. Oh no, Vince Carter was better per 36. Okay, so we'll put him in right about there. Okay, Anthony. The last guy I had in this range ended up being kind of in this area. That feels about right. Peja. Now, Peja's an interesting one because not the go-to guy, I think, on any team he was on. I think you're kind of splitting hairs here at some point. But again, I'm thinking right below Penny. Penny, like, aside from injuries, he probably would have been a lot higher, right? Now, I know what's weird is I know Pau Gasol actually makes this list somewhere. This feels pretty good. I wouldn't say he was, like, had the ball handling or nothing like Jamal Crawford. Again, we're not talking about hoopers. We're talking about just getting buckets. Pau Gasol was one of those guys. Now, Monta Ellis, yeah, again, I think, like, right about here. Artis Gilmore's, like, the cutoff of putting a lot of guys behind him at this point. Sean Livingston, I don't think he's going to make it, like, super high, but he, we'll get him appropriately ranked here. Again, not a go-to guy, so not expecting him to be super high, but he's honestly, like, right there. Kyrie, on the other hand, I know is up there, so let's find out where he falls. If it feels right looking at the per 36, I'll just slot him in right behind David Thompson and Jerry West. Maybe ahead of Elgin Baylor. Where's Jerry West at? Right there. Where is David Thompson at? Right there. Where is Elgin Baylor at? Right there. I know he has fewer 40-point games than Big O. So I'm thinking I guess, yeah, he slots in right about there. I guess that's actually, you know what? I said I wasn't going to hold injuries against people. I'm going to move him up above Dame, like I said. So, Joel, you get the bump. Let's get Klay Thompson out of the way. I don't think he's going to show up on this list. Right ahead, Michael Redd, who I don't have here, and is an absolute hooper. I love Michael Redd. Maybe he should have been on the Hoopers list. Above Klay Thompson, above Julius Randle, below T-Mac, Moses, and Mitch Richmond. Okay, where is Monroe? Oh, he's actually lower than I thought. I gotta pop you down to here, bud. I'm sorry. And then I'm gonna pop you in right here. That feels pretty good, right? I don't know if there's any Earl the Pearl Monroe fans out there that are gonna be upset by that, but that is where he fits per 36 career-wise, and that still feels pretty good. He's still amongst some pretty much legendary scorers. It's pretty crazy how big the C tier is and how many, like, in my eyes, like, legendary players are in here. Let's get Brandon Jennings out of the way. Again, I don't think he's on the all-time list. The Pterodactyl. Even if I don't hold his non-peak years against him, he only had 1 year close to 20 points per game. He was more like a 15 point per game scorer, maybe 16, we'll say. Which means I believe he fits in right about... Yeah, okay. That feels good. He's the end of C tier for now. ISO Joe. Is Joe Johnson on here? 22. Oh, wow. So, yeah. ISO Joe is going to pop in. I got to compare him to Monta Ellis to be sure, but I think he's above Monta Ellis. I'll just put him there. I'm certain he's above Monta Ellis. All right, we got 3 legends left. Kevin Garnett. I've been trying to leave some of the good players for the end here just to kind of keep this worth watching to the end. Kevin Garnett is on the all-time, what is this? NBA exclusive per 36 list. He doesn't make the combined ABA and NBA list, as there are some obviously phenomenal scores that came over from the ABA. You know what? Let's pop him in. You know, I'm going to put him above. I'm going to put him right there. That feels better. Move him up a few slots. He did get that MVP after all. You know what? I love Tim. I can't put him up. Tim Duncan, the greatest power forward of all time. Because of offense and defense. Kevin Garnett was also an offense and defense guy. But he got an MVP. But Tim Duncan got the championships. I'm not saying Kevin Garnett didn't get championships. Tim Duncan just got more. And he wasn't the go-to guy all the time. He had other guys around him that did a lot of the scoring. Yeah. That feels right. That feels right. If I was to bet you, if I adjusted for usage, this list would be more accurate. I wish I should have done more research ahead of time. I'm sorry, y'all. All right, we got Jokic and Harden left. Now, I know Harden's on the all-time list per 36. Right behind Dame. I think he's a better scorer than Dame, though. And Joel, technically. I mean, his peak year was peak. Doesn't have the accolades as far as championships go, but he does have an MVP. I'm thinking he slots in, like, right here. And then the last one, Jokic. Before I put it in, maybe comment below where you think Nikola Jokic is, or maybe put down where my biggest mistake is, or who you think should have been higher or lower, or, you know, just let me know. I'm trying to do my best here and be fair. I'm trying not to use bias. I'm having my numbers up here and some research that I did kind of do ahead of time to just reference some things to maybe finesse people into the right positions. How does that compare to Jose Calderon? Okay, you got company there. I'm gonna do one more just for the justice of it. Oh man, Bob Cousy was a bucket in his day, wasn't he? I kind of feel bad having him as low as I do because I think he's actually higher than that. Oh my god, actually, now that I do that, like he should be like here. Matter of fact, no, you were a bucket getter. I'll leave you there. Jokic. Jokic is like a pass first big, but he's a bucket getter too. He's just a well-rounded player. Now, efficiency-wise, I know he's above Shaq. Per 36, I know he's above Shaq. But Shaq's peak dominance was better. and he was scoring a lot in a slow ball era. So taking that into account, comparing him to more of his contemporaries, Jokic should be, I'm trying to figure out where, oh my God, I'd say right in between Kyrie and Tatum. And guess what? That's right here. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm thinking he goes right there as far as a bucket getter. And that's crazy. If you think about the fact he's a triple-double machine, he's a dimer, he's a facilitator as much as he is a scorer, the fact that he's that high on a B tier list is astounding. I'm going to leave it here. I think this is my finalized scorers list. Let me know, again, where I made mistakes, who should have been included, where, again, maybe you think I got something wrong, where I should adjust something. I try to do my best. I hope you all like it. Drop a follow, subscribe, like. Appreciate y'all. Good night.